was sitting alone on New Year's Eve, watching the drizzle tap against my studio window in Portland when my phone buzzed. It wasn't a Happy New Year message, it was a PDF from my mother. An invoice for $4,850.00 to cover my cousin's engagement dinner. I hadn't even known there was a dinner. That was the moment I knew, without a doubt, I'd been officially cut out of the family. But they were about to find out that so had their access to everything I'd ever quiet. My studio apartment was small, barely 400 square feet, but I'd strung up some fairy lights and set a candle on the sill to make it feel like something close to celebration. The vanilla scent didn't help much. When you've been deliberately forgotten, no fragrance can warm the sting of being unwanted. There was a time I adored this season. Aunt Diane made mulled cider from scratch, and my stepdad Glenn would complain about the cold but still light sparklers with the kids outside. My younger cousin Henry and I used to stay up late making playlists together. That was 4 years ago. This was the fourth holiday they'd shut me out. No invite, no call, no explanation. The first time, they said I was too busy. The second, they claimed it was just immediate family. The third, they didn't even bother with an excuse. And now, this. A bill. I picked up my phone again when the screen flashed. A new message. From Mom. Claire's chest tightened. Maybe, just maybe. It was a last-minute apology, or even a small "wish you were here." But no. It was a PDF. She opened it with numb fingers. Primary dining room reservation, engagement celebration. Total $4,850.00. It split evenly. Your part, $2,425.00. Claire blinked. Not a greeting, not a question. Just a transaction. For an event she didn't even know existed. And suddenly, the distance between them wasn't just emotional, it was deliberate. And paid for. But here they were, sending me a bill like I was just a walking ATM. No card, no message, just a neatly itemized invoice. My throat tightened, that familiar sting building behind my eyes. I set the phone down and stared at the soft flicker of the fairy light strung across my tiny window. They blinked steadily, like nothing had changed. But everything had. They didn't want me there. They didn't care that I was spending New Year's Eve alone. They hadn't remembered me when it came time to light sparklers or toast champagne. But they remembered when it was time to split a tab. Of course they did, because Daniel, my younger brother, was always the center. The one they built every holiday around. The one they praised no matter what. I was the afterthought, the dependable one, the one who always responded to the group texts, always sent thank you cards, always forgave. I picked up the phone again and looked at the invoice. Part of me wanted to cry, but something colder stirred. Not rage, something quieter, a slow blooming clarity. A kind of still, rooted anger that doesn't shout, it calculates. Because this is how they saw me. And maybe it was time I stopped pretending we were still a family. I didn't sleep much. I lay there thinking about that PDF and all the New Year's Eves that came before it. When things were simpler, back when love was loud, even in small ways. I couldn't pinpoint the moment it shifted, when I went from being Claire to being the one who doesn't need anything. Daniel could miss curfew, slack off in school, skip entire family dinners, and they'd laugh it off. But if I got a B+ or forgot to text back, I was met with disappointment. Claire's the independent one, Dad would say, like it was a trophy. At first I believed him, took pride in it, thought it meant they respected me. But over time, I saw what it really meant. It meant they thought I could carry everything on my own, that I didn't need support, or celebration, or a seat at the table. And Mom, she followed his lead. Whenever I tried to speak up, she'd just sigh and say, "You know how your father is." Like that explained everything. Like that excused anything. Like my hurt was just collateral damage in their mission to keep the peace. I started pulling back, not out of spite, but because it was exhausting trying to prove I deserved a place in my own family. And then came the latest gut punch. Just a few weeks ago, Daniel got promoted. Big title, fat raise. Everyone in the family chat, which I'm rarely included in, lit up with celebration. Fireworks emojis, champagne toasts, inside jokes. No one texted me. Not even a heads up. The part that really twisted the knife? I helped him get that job. He'd sent me his chaotic, overstuffed 2-page resume in a panic months earlier, saying he didn't stand a chance. The job was too big, the company too fancy. I stayed up 2 nights, editing it line by line. I rewrote entire sections, created a brand new cover letter. I even coached him for the interview, patiently ignoring the panic in his voice because, deep down, I wanted to see him win. And now here he was, celebrating on a boat somewhere, probably accepting praise and letting everyone believe he'd pulled it off on his own. That was the sting. Not the promotion, not even the exclusion, but the ease with which they celebrated him while pretending I didn't exist. It wasn't about New Year's anymore. It wasn't about Christmas, or birthdays, or missed invitations. It was a pattern, one I'd ignored for years. I'd kept hoping, maybe next holiday, maybe next year, they'd look up and think, Claire should be here. Claire matters. But instead, they sent me an invoice. They want my money, I whispered. Not my presence. That line echoed for days. It was the simplest truth I hadn't let myself say aloud. They didn't miss me. They missed what I gave them. And realizing that broke something in me I'm not sure can be repaired. Family's supposed to be where you're seen. I hadn't felt seen in years. For days I didn't respond. I just stared at that $4,850, 0 cents invoice. It didn't vanish. It didn't soften. It sat there, cold, bold, no signature, no message, just a demand. And the longer I looked, the more something inside me turned. Not sadness. Resolve. Claire remembered birthdays where her cake came from a clearance rack, while Daniel got bakery tier, custom fondant masterpieces. She remembered hauling herself to college orientation alone, dragging 2 suitcases across campus, while Dad took a whole week off to help Daniel settle in. She remembered family dinners where her opinions barely registered. Vacations she was invited to, if at all, at the last minute, after plans had already been made. It had always been that way. Claire, the giver, the dependable one, the one they called when things fell apart, but forgot when it was time to celebrate. Meanwhile, Daniel got the warmth, the attention, the affection, like he'd been anointed from birth. She glanced around her apartment, the soft, gray couch she'd saved her after working 3 months of overtime, the table she'd built herself, screw by screw, the shelves lined with paperbacks she'd hunted down in thrift stores and used bookstores across the city. This place, this life, it was hers. Fully, earned and owned. And then it hit her. A sharp, painful kind of clarity. She was done. Done being their backup plan. Done pretending not to notice the imbalance. Done showing up for people who only noticed her when they needed a check. They didn't want her at the table, and she wasn't begging for a seat anymore. Claire picked up her phone and opened Zelle. She typed in exactly $1, 0 cents, to the shared family account. In the notes section, she wrote, Santa skipped me too. Petty? Maybe. But it felt good, like the first crack in a dam. She didn't stop there. Netflix? Canceled. Hulu? Logged them out. Amazon Prime? Gone. Spotify? Password changed. Even the family phone plan she'd been covering most of it for years, she removed them all without hesitation. The credit cards? 2 of them were in her name, used for emergencies. She froze both, called the bank, requested new cards, new numbers. Each click felt like peeling off layers of guilt, of obligation. She wasn't being cruel. She was reclaiming space. For the first time in her life, Claire wasn't offering. She was choosing. And as she closed her laptop, she felt calm. Not happy, but steady. And that was a start. If you've ever had to choose yourself after being left out one too many times, don't forget to subscribe. Because Claire's just getting started, and the next chapter might be the one you've been waiting for. Claire knew someone would reach out, a call, a text, probably laced with confusion, probably with anger, but she didn't care anymore. They had drawn the line a long time ago. She had simply decided to stop pretending she wasn't standing alone on the other side of it. The next morning, her phone buzzed before she even left bed. First, a text from Mom. "What's going on? Netflix says it's disconnected." "No, good morning. No, how are you?" Just panic over not being able to stream her shows. Then came a missed call from Dad. And another. And another. Claire stared at his name lighting up her screen, then flipped the phone over and placed it face down on the dresser. She wasn't ready for him. An hour later, Daniel messaged her. "You're being immature. This isn't how family handles things." Family. Now he wanted to talk about family? Where was all this concern when she was spending New Year's Eve reheating leftovers alone? Where was this maturity when they sent her an invoice for a yacht party she hadn't even been invited to? She didn't respond. By noon, the group chat had ignited like fireworks. Mom again asking about TV services. Dad writing paragraphs about financial confusion. Daniel tossing in comments about her being dramatic and too sensitive. Not one of them said sorry. They weren't upset about losing her. They were upset about losing the benefits of her. That evening her phone rang again. Unknown number. She almost let it go. But curiosity won. "Hi, this is Erica from Summit Bank Fraud Department," the voice said politely. "We've had a report of potential unauthorized card activity under your name." Claire smiled. So they really had gone that far? "Yes," she said calmly. "I'm the account holder." Erica read off the details. Frozen cards, replacement requests, flagged logins. Her dad had reported her. "There's no fraud," Claire said. "The people using those cards were my family. I no longer give them permission." A pause. "Oh, understood. So you authorized all the changes?" "I did," Claire replied. "It was time." Another brief silence. Then, "Would you like us to close the fraud case?" "Yes," she said softly. "Close it." "There's no fraud here, just a family that mistook me for a doormat," Claire said, her voice calm, with a smirk she didn't bother hiding. It felt good, satisfying to say it out loud. On the other end of the line, Erica chuckled softly. "Understood. I'll note the file and follow up with the person who submitted the claim." "Thank you, Erica. I appreciate it." When the call ended, Claire just sat there. The apartment was quiet. No TV, no notifications, no noise. And instead of guilt or panic like she thought might creep in, she felt, let them scramble. Let them figure out how to pay for their own accounts. Maybe now they'd finally realize she wasn't just some backstage crew member making their lives run smoother. She had a voice, she had limits. And now, for the first time in her adult life, she had boundaries. After that call, Claire made a decision even she hadn't expected. She stopped responding. No replies to Mom's half-panicked texts. No answering Dad's calls. No engaging with Daniel's passive-aggressive group messages. She didn't block them. This wasn't revenge. It was relief. It was choosing peace. For years they'd thrown around independent like it was a compliment, but really, it had been an excuse, a way to expect everything from her and offer nothing in return. She's to hold everything together. Not anymore. At first the silence felt strange. No last-minute favors, no guilt-trip messages, just space. Claire spent the next few days breathing deeply. She took slow walks through snow-dusted streets, sat by the window with tea, watching the world go by. And when New Year's Eve came, she didn't dread it. She dressed up, wore her favorite coat, went to a small restaurant downtown and ordered a full meal, steak, mashed potatoes, a glass of red wine. She sat by the window and watched the lights sparkle across the river. As midnight struck and the room burst into cheers and clinking glasses, Claire simply smiled. She thought of all those birthdays, holidays, and dinners she was never invited to. They used to say, "You're strong." Now she believed it. You don't need us. Those words had cut deeper than any silence ever could, because deep down, Claire knew they meant it. They didn't want her for who she was. They kept her around because she was useful. The fixer, the organizer, the responsible one, the quiet force holding everything together behind the scenes. She'd paid forgotten bills, smoothed over awkward family blow-ups, caught emotional fallout like it was her duty. But she wasn't a service. She wasn't invisible. She was a person. And somewhere along the line, she'd let them forget that. That night, sitting alone in the soft candlelight of the restaurant, Claire had raised her glass and whispered a truth that settled deep in her bones. She wasn't forgotten. She was the foundation. And she had just walked away. It hurt. Letting go of the lingering hope that they might someday choose her just because. Not because she was dependable, not because she was useful, but because she mattered. Still, she needed to walk away. That dinner wasn't just a meal, it was a milestone. Her quiet declaration that she was done being defined by what she gave. She would no longer shrink herself to keep the family system running. As she stepped into the cold Portland air, coat wrapped tight, she felt strangely warm, lighter. Weeks passed. No missed calls, no new guilt texts, just silence. And for once, Claire found herself smiling into that silence. She worked late because she wanted to, not because she was avoiding anyone. She meal prepped, caught up with an old friend, even signed up for a yoga class. The weight of their absence began to feel like space. Then, one quiet Thursday afternoon, her inbox pinged. From Dad. Subject, we need to talk. Claire stared at it for a long time. She opened it slowly. He'd written carefully. The words sounded like an apology, but not quite. Family sticks together, he wrote. Even when it's hard. She read it twice. Then she typed her reply. Exactly, so why? She hit send. It wasn't mean. It wasn't angry. It was honest. And that was enough. It was the truth Claire needed him to hear. Family sticks together, he'd said, yet they had treated her like an outsider for years. After hitting send, Claire felt calm. She didn't need to explain herself. Her question, exactly, so why didn't you? Said everything. Soon after, Daniel texted, You're tearing the family apart, you owe us. She didn't respond. Not out of spite, but because she was done absorbing guilt to keep peace. Her silence was the boundary they never expected. Claire canceled every shared account, Netflix, the family phone plan, credit cards they used freely under her name. She opened new accounts, changed her number, and quietly stepped into a life that belonged entirely to her. In the quiet evenings that followed, she let herself reflect, but not dwell. The memories still stung, but they no longer defined her. That Christmas, they didn't unwrap gifts from her. They unwrapped the truth. She was no longer theirs to take for granted. Claire was no longer the dependable daughter who gave endlessly without being seen. She was a woman who had learned her worth. And sometimes, the clearest way to say, I matter, is simply to walk away. If you've ever felt unseen by the people who should have loved you most, you're not alone. Leave a comment, tell me what you would have done. Or just remind someone reading this that they're not wrong for choosing peace over obligation. Your words matter more than you know. To anyone carrying silent guilt for setting boundaries, I see you. It's not selfish to protect your energy. It's survival. And if this story spoke to something in you, subscribe. I'm just getting started, and maybe you are too.